Hey everyone, welcome to another Screenwriter's Tips. I'm Tony D. Today we're going to talk about dramas. Don't have a tremendous amount to say on the subject because I don't write a lot of drama in my work, but I got a few things to say. So, what do we do on a drama? Well, the problem with dramas is they can easily teeter into other genres, I think. So if the drama gets too dark, as you heighten, and you always got to be heightening, the story can become like almost a horror movie, depending on what the setup is. If the drama is too serious and too unrealistic, it could become funny despite the fact that it's supposed to be serious, which is a huge danger. That's like an epic fail when you're writing a drama, the audience sees it and starts laughing. Which is why you have to be very aware when you're writing the drama. Right, Joan? Say hi, Joan. Hello. When you're writing the drama, not to be so serious as to, just make everything serious. It's the opposite of writing comedy in a lot of ways. So like when you're writing a comedy, you can't make everything so hilarious or try to from the outset. You'll just numb everybody. So just like in a drama, you can't do the same thing. You can't make everything so overly dramatic that people just don't take the rest of it serious. You have to pick and choose your moments and build on them. So with dramas, well, an interesting thing that I saw in my improv days when I used to do improv, most of the groups were comedy improv, but there was a new wave of groups who did what was called tragic improv or tragedy improv. So they would do a show and build it just like a comedy show, except they were doing tragedy. So instead of making moves that made things funnier, they made moves that made things more tragic. And that's kind of what you need to do in a screenplay. And just like in a comedy, you need to start relatively neutral, relatively normal, in a situation that people can kind of identify with. So when the drama unfolds, they feel like they've been brought into it and not, well, you're just hitting me over the head with drama because you said this was a drama situation. You have to bring people into the situation. I think another thing that's happened in terms of Hollywood making dramas and why they really don't make a whole lot of good dramas anymore, in my opinion, is because people kind of gravitate towards the classic dramas. I mean, like, if you want a good drama, you could see a version of Shakespeare, and it's awesome. He kind of covered all the great major points of drama, and that's where a lot of things eke out of. It's a take on King Lear, a take on Romeo and Juliet. Another thing that Hollywood does, and I think this is good, is they'll take a book or a real event or both and turn it into a movie. And that is always very gripping because it's true. So, you could make, for instance, the Dallas Buyers Club. You could make a movie about a guy who, a fictional movie about a guy who gets HIV and then has to fight, turn his whole mindset around and then have to fight for his own survival, getting the drugs he needs. But it's more effective if it's true. If this is based on a real person, then you go into it with slightly different perceptions. A story based on a real person, although it will be dramatized to some degree, you watch the movie going, wow, this was a real guy. I wonder where he is now. I can't wait for the end, and I'll see where he is now and how he survived or how he didn't survive, and So when things happen to that character, there feels like there's more at stake because that person is a real person. So if somebody almost dies on screen, it's not just a character almost dying, it's a real person almost dying, and then you say to yourself, oh my God, if I was in that situation, what would I do? It makes the job easier because when you're writing fiction, you're trying to make your character so real that the audience buys into it and they feel that way anyway. But with a real person, half the job is done for you. You just tell the audience, oh, this is based on true story, and then they're like, oh, ooh. So again, 3-act structure. You want to start your drama, introduce all the characters, introduce the problem, and the second act is going to be the heightening of that to a large degree. The third act is going to be the most dramatic moment in the movie. It peaks, and then a denouement, what happens afterwards. I think, to me, The Godfather and Godfather 2 are great dramas, and they follow the 3-act structure pretty well. And the payoff is not action, usually, in a drama. Really. It shouldn't be action. It should be emotional, right? So that's why you really have to feel for character. If your payoff is action-oriented, you've really kind of created an action movie. And when I mean action-oriented, I mean like a final fight or something. Not that there can't be action in the end, but if it's all action, if your final scene is Jackie Chan kicking ass left and right, it can overwhelm the emotional impact of what your character. Now, if you look at a movie like Platoon, there was a lot of action in that, right? And but part of it is the way it's shot and the way it's written. The emphasis on Platoon was not these amazing stunts and people dodging bullets or whatever. There was action, there were explosions, but it was gritty, it was real, it wasn't meant to be celebrated. It was the emotional carnage of William Dafoe falling to his knees at that moment. That was the moment. And so you always have those moments in a drama, but they're very hard to pull off. I think part of the problem is really is, I don't want to say an epidemic, but people in Hollywood just seem to be waiting for anything that's iconic enough to parody so they could do a lazy parody movie about it. And same thing for TV shows that do parodies. It used to be there were so many interesting dramas and movies out there. There was always plenty to draw from because they were iconic and interesting. Now it just seems the dramas of today, there's not a lot to them unless it's based on a real thing. And I guess that's because dramas aren't quite in vogue. You don't require a lot of special effects. It requires a lot of great acting. I mean, a lot rides on the acting in a drama. In some ways, it's easier than a comedy because comedy requires all this timing. Drama, to some extent, requires timing, but not as much as comedy. Comedy, the timing's off, the joke won't work, nobody laughs. With drama, there's a little more leeway in that, and it's not about the laugh, it's about sort of the big reveal, the big shocker, and the build up to that has to be important enough to watch. It kind of all hinges on the climactic scene in a drama to a large extent. you know, the stuff that comes before it needs to be interesting too. But you know, there's it's hard. I mean, that's all I could say. It's hard. It's hard to get people to take it serious. It's hard to not drift into, you know, if you're doing a mafia drama like The Godfather, it's hard not to turn that into, you know, more of a crime thing where you get into the minutia of the organized syndicate, or you know, it becomes more action oriented. It's very hard to do that. um, I would say start with the three acts. um, when you feel that something funny happens, acknowledge it, and there should be a couple of at least amusing moments. You know, there are a few amusing moments in The Godfather with characters. It should feel like real life. It should feel fairly random, but at the same time, it should drive home a point. And you know, and you should really feel for the characters. So you have to really like the characters. You have to really relate to the characters. There usually needs to be universal themes that are explored, which I think is part of the reason why you don't see a lot of new dramas. You know, it's hard to retread that when it's been done so many times. You know, a love story is, I mean, they just do it. Every movie has a love story in it, just about. So, you know, a love story between two characters meeting and falling in love and having a drama and all that stuff, it's very hard. You kind of know it's either they go off in the sunset at the end, or they don't. And that's kind of the only two options. And then, you know, it's all the build up to that dramatic moment, you know. I think also too, you can take an event, you know, like someone losing a child, you know, a very dramatic event, and explore that, you know, in a drama. That is something. I think that kind of thing requires either a great deal of research or a personal experience to really, you know, tear out of you and put into a screenplay. And that's hard. That's hard too. You know, that's part of the reason I love comedy, is I could just make up all kinds of crazy shit. And, you know, with dramas, it can't be crazy. It can't be. People have to relate to it. It has to really hit them, you know. The Great Santini, it's a great drama, you know, because it touches on that universal theme of, you know, fathers or parents, you know, and a kid trying to become his own man, and the struggle in that. And you had Robert Duvall. I mean, really, one of the best actors you could have in a movie. You know, it's really tough to make a movie like that now. They're just, I don't think people have the patience for it, because to some extent you need patience for a drama. You need to see all the parts, so when the build up happens, it pays off right. And I don't think a lot of audience have that patience anymore for a drama. You know, maybe if it's a romance, you know, romance drama. But, you know, because at least with a comedy, you're getting laughs along the way. It's kind of hard to parse out the drama. You know, it's hard to have little dramas building up to a bigger one. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does, but at the same time, you know, everybody's different. Kramer versus Kramer was about a divorce, and if you haven't been through a divorce and had a kid, and you know, suffered through that, there's only so much you're going to take away from that. So I think Hollywood tends to want to make movies, especially now, to audiences that, you know, you look at the Marvel movies and their great success, they have a very wide appeal. They have a little bit of everything. They have a little drama, they have comedy, they have action, they have special effects, they have big stars. I mean, you know, they have science fiction, maybe a little supernatural. there's romance, there's, you know, there's so many things. Um, you can take your kids to it. A lot of times you can't really take your kid to a drama because it's very nuanced, or it should be, and you're typically dealing with adult themes or themes that only an older person might really get. You know, a younger person is probably not going to be all that interested in a drama. You know, to go to the movies and see a drama. I think a lot of people go to the movies, the actual theater, for escapism, and they want to come out feeling good. You know, a drama, it's kind of exhausting to watch, you know. You kind of feel a little bit drained by a drama at the end. So that's the dangers of writing a drama. And I think that's why a lot of people who are writers, you know, will also do plays. Because plays, you know, for a drama, for a lot of different reasons, it's just, I think it's a better venue, you know. It allows the actors certainly to do more. Certainly, you know, that's a venue where, you know, actors love to do drama. Not that they don't like to do other stuff too, but dramas are, you know, they're really hard for actors. I mean, I think comedy is probably slightly harder for a lot of other reasons, but you know, the drama is like the serious acting, and that's the serious thing on your resume. So if you're a playwright, that's a serious thing too, and then that, you know, can turn into a serious screenwriting career. If you look at, you know, David Mamet, Glen Garry Glen Ross, which is awesome if you haven't seen it. You know, that's a drama. You know, it doesn't involve crime. It involves guys just trying to keep their job. And I think you know, for the stakes in a drama, you want to aim low. You know, aim low and explore that world. So like in Glen Garry Glen Ross, it was aiming low into this world of, you know, desperate real estate guys, and you get a great drama at it, and very iconic scenes, you know. But it's not like Glen Garry Glen Ross is the sort of thing that, you know, is going to run on Netflix forever. I guess it kind of would because it was such a hit and such a classic. But I mean, there's plenty of other movies that, you know, they just bunch of dramas that are just there. So you need something that explores a new world, and I think with Glen Garry Glen Ross, it explored, you know, this world of real estate guys in a new and interesting way. So, you know, and this is part of the reason I stay away from dramas. They're kind of depressing. I don't like, and they tend to end. You know, you can't end them too dark, and that kind of, like I said, that kind of overlaps into horror. But they tend to have kind of a dreary ending. Nobody really wins. Nobody really loses. Life kind of goes on, and you know, and that's the end. So, good luck writing dramas out there. If you have any questions or comments, if you'd like me to cover something here on Screenwriting Tips, please leave a comment in the section there, a question. I'd be happy to answer it. Anything specific would be great. My name is Tony D. You can check out my work in comics on the Web Comic Factory and Superfrat. And for Screenwriting Tips, me and Joan say good night.